We're gonna go to that picture in a minute.
Oh, okay. My bad.
I like how I did that. That looks sweet. Okay. So right here it says, in an amazing twist of fate, yes,
Okay.
that killed Henrietta Lack, a 31-year-old African American mother. When they said African American, that automatically told you she was organic, indigenous to this land. They want us to believe we from somewhere else so that we won't be doing what me and Empress doing exactly right now. Ha ha ha, in their face. So became an essential tool that helped the biomedical field flourish in the 21st century. As a cancer researcher who uses HeLa cells in my everyday work, even I sometimes find it hard to believe. On August the 1st, 2023, over 70 years after Dr. took Lack's genes without her consent or knowledge, her family reached a settlement with biotech company Thermo Fisher. Lack's descendant had sued the company in 2021 for making billions of dollars off of her cells. Now, the top of the next page is cut off, Empress,
Okay,
so
hold
we're going to have
on.
to go to
I
the...
got I got it. Just give me 1 second. I'm working this thing. Give me one
So
second.
these are the genes that's identifiers for the daughters of Isis on Earth, which takes us back to banking codes in the DNA, and it takes us to birthright and blood right to restore and reclaim everything using the grandfather clause to usher in the grandmother clause. Right? Yep, there we go. Okay, it says, can we blow it up some, write it down?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Now just slide it to the, yep.
Is that good?
Yep, now you just got to scroll to the top.
Okay.
I think you may have to drag down.
Okay, wait a minute. Oh, goodness. All right. Give me a second here. All right. I have to let me see, do this. Is that good enough for you to,
Yep,
and then,
yep, yep.
okay.
That's it right there. So here the question was, why HeLa cells matter? It says before HeLa cells, scientists wanted a way to grow and study human cells in the lab to conduct studies that are impossible to do in a living person. When Lack's cervical cancer cells were successfully grown in a petri dish in 1951. Now look at how that's highlighted. Successfully grown in a petri dish in 1951. So there's emphasis on the fact that they successfully grew her cells in a petri dish in 1951. Okay, now, scientists now had a source of cost-effective and easy-to-use cells that expanded their ability to conduct research. From polio to cancer research and sequencing the human genome, that's critical. HeLa cells have played an enormous role in my scientific discoveries and advancements. Okay, you can scroll down so we catch the rest of the last paragraph on that page.
Let's see. That good?
Trying to get the last paragraph on the right side at the bottom.
Right.
There, now blow it up. I should have it. That's good. That's perfect. Okay. Henrietta Lack's story is also an ongoing bioethics case That means that they still using her case study to go over the ethical value of this method in the okay. To go over this method of research if it's ethical. That means if the moral value of it, if the benefit is outweighed by the moral value, no matter how immoral it will be, they will use that as a means to pursue their objective. It said because these cells were taken from her during a routine cervical cancer biopsy and were then given to researchers without her consent, as was common practice at the time. So who genes do they have that they doing research on in laboratories without their knowledge? Because they say it was a common practice to do what they done. That means they was doing it on a routine basis. It said the Lack family has long attempted legal action against companies that say they say have unfairly benefit. Can you take me off moderator because it keep popping stuff up and blocking my screen?
Okay. Let me find. There you are.
Okay. The Lack family has long attempted legal action against companies they say have unfairly benefited from Henrietta's sales. A 2010 book by journalist Rebecca Skloot details how HeLa affected both science and the Lack's family. Right? So this was a cause because they discovered her genes were immortal. Right? Can we go to Google and pull up the word immortal?
Sure.
So, genetically speaking, she can't die. So something happened that made her transition, and cervical cancer would have been one of the things her body would have naturally resisted. So in order for her to die from cervical cancer, there had to be some unnatural outside intervention, or the cancer cell wouldn't have affected Henrietta Lack to her demise. Do that make sense?
Yeah.
Empress?
Yes, it makes sense.
Okay, now. So, and they studied her genes. None of her family know it, nor did she know it at the time, but they end up making the discovery later, which made her family petition the courts for relief. Now remember, they courts is designed to give us the runaround if we right. So the discovery that her genes was immortal, well, what do that mean to have immortal genes, right? The word immortal means not mortal, not liable or subject to death, undying. The secondary meaning is remembered or celebrated throughout all time. That means in the ancient Kemet, they had a saying, you'd have two deaths, when you disincarnate physically and when your name is spoken for the last time. The third definition for immortal is not liable to perish or decay, imperishable, everlasting. The fourth is perpetual, lasting, constant, right? As in an immortal enemy, the enemy that you always had since your first creation. Your doppelganger self, your devil self, or your doubled self. Now, fifth meaning of immortal is of or relating to immortal beings or immortality. You with us?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it says the sixth is of a laboratory cultured cell line capable of dividing indefinitely. Okay, now, that being understood, they found out that according to the genes, Henrietta Lack is never supposed to die. Every time her cells replicate, there's no entropy in order for it to exhaust itself at its source, which takes us to the image of the mitochondria. This is where it's starting to get juicy. It's the picture of the mitochondria. Not that. That's a cell that's down further in the right there, right under Casablanca. Okay, now we want to expand that because now we finna get into the Matrix. Shout out to Sister Sophia Stewart, the author of The Matrix and Terminator. We ain't forgot about that, sister. Okay, mitochondria is known as the energy powerhouse of every cell, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is what the mitochondria itself look like. Inside the mitochondria, where you see those little squiggly lines, is something called the matrix. Let that sink in for a minute. Okay, this is a broadcast system from spirit to humanity. It is the capacitor that downloads the energy of a nuclear star so it does not spontaneously combust the human body. This is the first filter and communication with spirit that the body has. Now, the Sibyls, since it's under here, we're going to touch on that. This is the link mitochondria give all women who understand who they are, and that with a little meditation and focus can activate their mitochondria DNA to operate at maximum capacity.
Uh-oh! You better get ready, get ready, get ready. Get in here, like that guy said.
So we're going to go over the meditation, and I'm going to also make mention of a supplement. But first, once this mitochondria becomes fully activated, and this is what the sun rays and the Schumann resonance is doing right now, it's energizing the women to turn this on, to take back Earth from the rogue patriarchs, and to make the men be men again and the women be feminine again. The most effective ones of the sisters right now are the elderly women and the priestesses of Oshun to kick this energy off around the planet by understanding focus on the mitochondria. And this is what they're going to call the Sibyl effect. It's like Tesla coils wherever one of them are. And the energy that she's putting out will connect with the other sisters in a telepathic network around the planet. And this is called the Sibyl effect. The Sibyls, or the first prophetesses of Mami Wata, was the ancient Atlantean Lemurian priestesses that governed over the earth. These are the women who decided to make humanity in Genesis 1:26. And then when Adam is made, that's when the usurpers came to replace the ones that the women put in here with something else called a Gulam. Now, what it say right here is what is now currently the Holy See of the Vatican in Italy. Uh-oh. Let me read that again, Empress. What is now currently the Holy Seat of the Vatican in Italy was originally the sacerdotal seat of the ancient Black Sibyl Queen Mothers. Get the book if y'all want to go into more detail. This is the priestesses of Mami Wata, Sibyls, and I forgot the author name. It's on there. What's her name? Anyway, so from here we gonna go to the Pope's, to the sacerdotal seat. The Pope doesn't sit on. You want to pull up that big old pretty picture of Big Mama seat? Yep. This seat is suspended above the Pope seat. That's Big Mama's seat. Right? Now, if you look down, you could right directly under it, you can see the top portion of where the Pope sits. The reason the Pope sits there is because he is doing something called Yachabim. He's undermining. He's Jacobin. He's being Jacob to Esau. He's undermining the earthborn, the ruddy red Mississippi walking clay dirt. By blocking Big Mama's seat, because Big Mama ain't home, he ain't gonna let nobody sit there. And if a man sit in the seat, bring the whole game to an end. That's why it's suspended so high above the ground. Now, the common thing that they tell you is that this is St. Peter's seat. This is not St. Peter's seat. And I'll tell you how we know. We got a picture of St. Peter's seat to show you. Let's show them St. Peter's seat. St. Peter's seat does not even look like this. It's not made like this. The style is different, right? And from the sacerdotal seat of the proper heir, we goes to the patriarchal seat of St. Peter. Where is it at? Where is it at? Where is it at? This is St. Peter's seat. If you notice, the chair is in a definite geographical place. Can we blow it up so we can read this, Empress? Okay. History and significance of the chair of St. Peter the Apostle. It says the term chair or seat, or a chair of St. Peter the Apostle, pertains to two entities: the physical chair and the spiritual meaning of the chair of the first supreme pontiff, St. Peter the Apostle himself. Now, for those who don't know, Peter is pater, which means father in Greek. This is the father seat of St. Peter, or the fatherly saint, right? Now, it shows you here two different meanings, physical meaning and the spiritual meaning. The physical chair of St. Peter is an ancient ornamental chair that is located in the, I can't see that word, apse of St. Peter Basilica. So now we know that St. Peter's seat is physically located in St. Peter's Basilica, and it's got these velvet ropes around it, Janet Jackson. She told us to look for the velvet rope. Janet Jackson did. We don't pay our people no attention like that, though. We only pay attention to the star value in the this black girl magic talking now. Those sisters with that golden brown skin and that afro. The spiritual meaning of St. Peter's seat, on the other hand, the spiritual aspect of the chair of St. Peter pertains to the spiritual authority that binds the church together, the glue that holds the church together. It's the role of the father in the family is to keep the family together. So this is but they using it in reverse, remember, because when you hear about the crucifixion and it's saying they divided up his royal garment and they sold it at the auction block. What is the royal garment is significant of the family. And to rent the garment is to fracture the family. Now, if you look, it say the ancient chair. And if you notice, it got a pyramid on top or a triangle on top. Masonically, it would be a square over a ruler. Okay? And it says the ancient chair. The seat is about 1 foot, 10 inches above the ground, and 2 feet 11 and 7/8 inches wide. According to the examination then made by Padre Garucci and Giovanni Battista de Rossi, the oldest portion is a perfectly plain oaken armchair with 4 legs connected by crossbars. You can see the original St. Peter's chair on the picture on the left. Do that look anything like that other chair? They don't look nothing like the other chair. Because you're on mute, Empress.
It doesn't. It doesn't look like it.
Right. Right. Because this is what we call the people on earth, no matter where you at, this is known as the imposter seat. They couldn't sit on Big Mama's seat, so they had to make their own seat. But they got to always remain under Big Mama as the usurper, so that if the rightful heirs come to claim it back, we know who overthrew us. Because they sitting under Big Mama's seat. So at the bottom it say the original throne or chair of St. Peter the Apostle was last publicly exposed in 1867, where it was photographed. Without doubt, the first Supreme Pontiff, St. Peter the Apostle, made use of the original chair and sat on it, meaning making it an authentic relic of our church. Okay, now, let's go back and look at the other chair again, Empress.
All right.
You can pull up the one where it says the seat of power.
Okay, let's see.
Don't look nothing like it. This is called the sacerdotal seat of the priestesses of Mami Wata, or the daughters of Isis. This is the 13th ruling seat of the 12 lesser seats of the earth realm. Spiritually, Prime Creator sits on this seat. And spiritually, the Father seat is beneath her seat. So they tried to mimic it in the physical, and then they find the rightful heir and put obstacles in their path to prevent the rightful heir with the blood and the right from claiming the sacerdotal seat as the seat of power. Side note, the act of that on this land was carried out by the Empress when she went to Philadelphia and she sat on the highest seat of power in North, Central, and South America to declare that the matriarchy was returning for what they rightfully own. And what was also simultaneously taking place in another room while she was sitting on the seat, the other sister was receiving the channel from the elders who had cursed them where they couldn't use that position, and they made a move the capital from Philadelphia to DC, because if they got too close to that seat of power in their false application of power, it would cause an energetic backlash in the spirit realm that would affect them in the earth realm. So they moved it, and then they protected the grounds of DC with sigils. When you listen to people talk about it now, they saying they're Masonic symbols. No, those are sigils used to harness and capture energy in order for them to carry out the artificial means of usurping the power by preventing the women from ever understanding the power that goes with having the mitochondrial rulership rights and inheritable rights of the earth by grandfather clausing the grandmother clause by having the rightful heir to the father's seat to tell them who is the rightful heir to Big Mama's seat. So when these two heirs act together, Isis raises Horus to the seat of Osiris in order to purge the land of all of the frauds and the imposters. This is called the holy drama in ancient Egypt. All of the earth tribes know the story according to the culture they live in. It's told a little bit different. Over here in Mesoamerica, it's called Popol Vuh. And it's the story of the rise of Quetzalcoatl, right? Or Kulakakan, depending on which culture is telling the story. In order to prove that the rightful heir comes, the father cancels all of the fraudulent contracts, and then the side effect is whatever paperwork is the foundational document, the false system will surrender to the rightful heir. That's the relay or the changing of the guard when that takes place. And they have 13 days to get it done. So I, as a chief on this land, coming up with the blood and the right, being the self-raised master, came to tell everybody who the rightful heir is, but I got to find her first. Right? And the only way I can find her is by continuously knocking with the right knock that comes with the right sound. That's how we make the tune become in tuned, which is attuned, which brings us to a tone, a single sound of an alpha male howling at the moon to call for Big Mama to come home. So when Farrakhan at the Million Man March said that when you hear the A tone, we will be at one, because it will be the right sound from the right one. And this is the changing of the guard from rogue patriarchal systems. And the men tired of it. They just don't know they tired of it because they haven't felt the love and tenderness of the matriarchy in so long we don't think it exists. So let's go back to the book, because I want to go back to the we can go start going into the pages now. Let's go back to the cover because I got to read the headers because they're critical. That one right there. Okay, can we blow that up where I can see? Well, I can read it from my book, but the other people won't be able to see it.
Okay, you want me to go back to the one that wasn't cut off?
You're on the right picture, but the one on the right is the page I'm finna read off of. So this is chapter 13, the seed of Isis as the Laxzi gene. Now, if you notice, IS 44, which is Isis 44, 44 means an angel. Can you see it at the top up there?
Yeah. Well, wait a minute. Let me go to the other one. This page right here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. If you right there at the top, it say IS 44. The first thing you tell her, okay, so before that, it say why the bull goddess binds to the serpent. Now you notice it says bull and goddess. Bull is masculine, goddess is feminine. Yin and yang. But it says it joins to the serpent. Now it would take us back to the story of Eve in the garden, because Eve means tribal leader. Hawa is her name. It means tribal leader, which means the women was the leader of the tribes way back then. Now, the next thing to say after that is IS 44. Isis give dead king his heart in the middle of earth and fashions him. So this basic statement, Isis gives the dead king his heart, right? In the middle of earth, and fashions him. Now remember, this is the queen mother, which is the mother to the king. So the mother had the LAC-Z gene, and she is forming in her womb the rightful heir because she has heritable blood right of the king to come. This is the story of Isis giving birth to Horus to avenge his father from his uncle Set, who slew his father, chopped him up into 13 pieces, but one piece was missing. Right? This is called the phallic key, right? Which is actually the bottom portion of the Ankh. The top portion alone is called the Ba. Right? And in order for you to have the key, you have to access the right through the Ba and the Ka, which means the body, which is the blood right, and the spirit, which is the spiritual authority granted, right? This is why you have to be anointed with the Karast or the elixir. And the mother anoints the child with the crocodile oil in old times. Now they use olive oil through the influence of the church. Spiritually, olive oil is an acceptable replacement because it looks like alligator oil that we used to get from Sobek priests who used to ride alligators, and they were the warriors in the Gullah Wars that was fending off the Spanish Armada, and this is what made them chopping down and burning down the trees in Florida all the way to Louisiana. Anyway, so the next thing it says is dead kings receives milk of Isis. This is IS 45. Dead king receives milk of Isis, the lady of provisions, right? And the common phrase of the wise is worry not, because mother will provide, as in Mother Nature. So Isis is the embodiment of Mother Nature on earth in order to raise her son up to defend earth from any threat. IS 46, dead kings take Eye of Horus or 2 bowls of sacred milk. Milky Way reference, right? Now we talking about the mother's milk, we talking the udders or the mammary glands. But these are all codes to decipher what's being discussed. Then it says IS 47, Isis accompanies dead king in Sunbark, which is that ship you've seen as the mothership. Mm-hmm. Isis conceives king and reassembles Osiris. Remember earlier when I was saying that she was forming the child in the womb to take her to his father's seat after his evil uncle Seth, which they're talking about here. Mm-hmm. IS 48. Cream reconciles Horus and Seth and purifies dead king. Right? So we're going to go into it. Objective 8. What evidence is there for the idea that the meta symbol Isis represents lactose metabolism? So you always say you lactose intolerant, you can't drink milk and all of this. But you go into the land of milk or honey and you lactose intolerant. Let that sink in. You go into the land of milk and honey, but you lactose intolerant. Lactose is a milk sugar. And I've never seen a child drinking from his mother's breast have GERDs. It don't happen. But when you use synthetic milk or when you use a milk incompatible like cow's milk, the baby will get GERDs and won't be able to hold the milk down. So then they got to come and get the goat's milk. And the year of the goat is 1967. And the goat is the most feminine sign in the zodiac of the Chinese zodiac. And the goat represents the greatest of all time. And the goat becomes the dragon when the goat realizes who they are in the year of the dragon. 2024 is the year of the dragon. And when Big Mama take her seat, if she's born in the year of the goat, when she take her seat, she becomes the goat dragon or the great dragon or the great returning mother. Right? So the book go on to say numerous reference to Isis providing milk for the dead king, suckling the white bull, the Milky Way references and sweet and white eye of Horus references provide evidence for the idea that Isis represents the lactose nutrient medium. Medium is a thing that go between another thing. So it's a go between two things. These reference points to the operating ancient glycolysis pathway in cells that have pathways for both lactose and glucose energy metabolism. So what we're talking about now is the absorption of energy and the conversion of it through the biological systems is all governed by the mitochondria. This is what this is telling us. Glycolysis evolved billions of years ago when there was hardly any molecular oxygen in our atmosphere. Both anaerobic fermentation and aerobic respiration start with ancient glycolysis pathway, which runs whether oxygen is present or not. That means that an immortal thing don't need oxygen to survive. It can live in an aerobic environment or anaerobic. It says in anaerobic respiration, all steps after glycolysis, such as the Krebs cycle to make ATP occur in the mitochondria. So the mitochondria is telling the body what it wants in order to produce the energy required to sustain the organism. In other words, spirit converts into an active form using the synthesis of the glucose or the lactose through the mitochondrial conversion of energy. The starting point for glycolysis is normally glucose. In anaerobic conditions, the end product depends on the organism. For example, some microorganisms, like say yeast, brewer's yeast, the end product is ethanol or carbon dioxide, but in higher organisms, now we go to the next page. If you want to pull the next page up, Empress, end product is lactate, which is to produce milk. So the milk that feeds the child in the mother is a side effect or a condensation of the energy of spirit being filtered through the mitochondria, through the mammary gland to produce the milk, which gives life to the child. So this is page 138, the Isis thesis that we in now, which is the page on the left. I don't know if we can see the whole page, but it says lactose is the predominant sugar in milk. Now keep that sugar in mind because I'm gonna give y'all a reference and I'll have y'all look up later. It say the pyramid and coffin text point to this idea in the countless Egyptian references to the Milky Way and the mother goddess Isis. The deceased claims that he is Horus, the offspring of Osiris, and is born of Isis. He states he is the white bull whom the milk goddess suckled and is at nurse, meaning currently he's suckling from the great mother, meaning that he's sustained spiritually through the elder goddesses of the earth by their mitochondrial preference. It says perhaps the most convincing connection to lactose metabolism is that Isis is the lady of provisions. Thus, we have the claim in the legend of Ra and Isis. That's a Wallace Budge reference. That Isis was a woman skilled in words of power who enabled the dead to live, including Osiris. So this is telling you that it was by the word of the mother Isis that even the father Osiris was allowed to survive, which means he was heritable to mitochondrial, and mitochondrial is the source of all of the energy that he was able to sync through his mother with. The mother then passes her son on through mitochondrial baton pass to the woman that can love him unconditionally. And that's why the queen mother picks the queen for the king to be, because it is through the queen mother that the right to rule is heritable to the father at the father's seat, or the Osirian seat, or the seat of Osiris. Right? It goes on to say, in addition, the text state Horus became ruler over Egypt by means of the Sole I, the mistress of the Enneads, meaning the mother of the nine, the lady of all. That means she's the mother of nine, but she governs them all as the lady of all. This idea that the I or genome of the glorious lineage of Horus is whole by means of Isis is found often, suggesting the I is nurtured by lactose metabolism. The I of Seth and the human creation thrive with glucose production, not lactose, which takes us to a book called The Naked Ape. And in the book The Naked Ape, there's a portion in there that tells us about the brain's usage of all of the glucose. Most of your sugar is consumed by your brain in higher thought. When you move your thinking to higher realms, you begin to have more glucose being used by the brain. So part of the diabetes is a artificial sugar replacement that's strangling the brain's metabolism of the sugars, which causes the insulin to reject it, which shuts down the pancreas if you reverse engineer it. If the body keeps producing more insulin than the sugar allows it to process, it overworks the pancreas, which exhausts the chromium and vanadium. Chromium and vanadium are the fuel for the pancreas to produce insulin for metabolism, and the primary metabolism place for the glucose is in the brain in the human. So when you have the breakdown and the disconnect, and then you have to remember the cleaning of the filters of the body becomes critical for getting out toxins and foreign agents, which we'll come back to that. Right? So it go on to say this brings us full circle, because the non-local deceased is one who was conceived and born as Horus the heir. Additional references to lactose include that the deceased...
Okay, where are you reading at? See, I think that I'm on the wrong page. Am I on the wrong page?
Look at the top. Is it 138? You're on page 138.
Okay, let me see.
Yeah, you're on the wrong page.
Okay. Is this right here? Is this where we are? Okay, hold on 1 second then.
Can only be one more page.
But this is the last page right here.
Okay, so go up 2. It should be that one right there.
Okay.
Let me see. No, oh, no, it ain't either one. Wait a minute.
You said 138?
Yep, I'm on page 138.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me get that page up. I don't even think I have that page.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, yes, I do.
Yep, the name of the book that I referenced was called The Naked Ape. That's 47. Yep, that's
All
it.
right.
It's the left hand page,
Mm-hmm.
almost to the end of the second paragraph.
Yes, we got it.
Mhm.
My apologies for the wrong page, everyone.
It's okay. I was still reading it. I was reading it out loud. They was like, wait a minute, that ain't the words I'm looking at.
We're good.
Okay, so but for those that's trying to catch up, I'm on the second paragraph on the left hand side of the screen. And I'm at the part where it's an additional reference to lactose include that the deceased will not travel around because your arm is that of Horus, your arm is that of the Great One, while the sacred eye, the Lady of Provision, is powerful. So it is that cream or zoom or soon, those are words that don't have consonants, reconciles Horus and Seth by providing lactose medium for complete eye of Horus. So this lactose medium, they're talking about the activation of the eye of Horus, which is the eye of wisdom or the third eye that the mother's wisdom opens up. This is the nurturing of the spirit of the son by the righteous mother or the mother that's striving for righteousness and teaching the ways of righteousness to her son. So this substance that they're talking about is the milk. It is the spiritual teaching that's passed on in the physical way so that it awakens the divinity in the child, right? So the next paragraph starts the numerous textual references also emphasizes the importance of cultivating and brewing barley. This is making a beer now, right? Because one of the side effects of the synthesis of sugars is to produce glycol, which is the precursor to alcohol, right? So say the sugar maltose is used in the brewing of barley. Maltose, of course, points to the maltose transport system of the phage lambda receptor site, lambiporin. The deceased receives the milk of Isis, which translates to accessing the lactose pathway through the maltose transport system, where a low affinity path exists that does not allow the MBP to bind the substrate lactose. Right. Then they have the bold print say barley cultivation equals maltose transport path for lactose energy metabolism. So now it's telling you the necessary components for when you raise your frequency, your brain will begin to fire at a more rapid rate, which is going to require more of the glucose, which is the sugars that the brain use. The carbohydrates is the slower burning of the two, so the brain will convert the carbohydrates slower then it absorbs the raw sugars. The best sugars come from the fruit. But some of us brain fired so fast that if we eat fruit, that we will have a difficult time holding our human form. And that might be why Malachi York don't eat fruit. Right. So on page 139, we going into the eye of Isis. Right. Now you got to remember, in the Book of the Dead, Ra gave his eye to Sekhmet to go to war with the patriarchs. But Isis gave her eye to Heru or Horus to redeem his father's seat from a usurper, which was her husband and her's brother. So he was an uncle on his mother and father's side to the seat, and he took it from the father. So the son has to reclaim it by the blood and the right. So he has to open his eye of wisdom, and the brain is called interior gyrus, which allows your communications with spirit to flow. And this is why they say the spirit rain downs on the heads of the people. It's talking about a specific part of the brain in a specific location on the right hemisphere where the spiritual information comes in. Whereas the eye or the right eye is feeding the left brain linear logic, and the spiritual eye, the third eye, is translating with the left eye spiritual data in order to balance the two out so that the left brain and the right brain work in harmony to produce a full spectrum holographic memory. You have to reconstruct your memory by understanding certain key principles. So I'm gonna read this page. I'm gonna try not to do too much commentary so that I can get through this page, because then we're gonna start going into. But this is the page I really wanted to get to. Isis is Soul Eye, S-O-L-E, the sacred eye, right? Which is S-O-U-L. The Egyptians, Isis represent the Magna Mater, or the Great Mother, the great creative power nurturing all living things. Nephthys was her twin form in the consort of Seth. Isis's crown consists of a pair of horns, between which a lunar disk, sometimes surmounted by the throne symbol. Recall that the lambda prophage lodges in the host E. coli chromosome at the site of the LAC-Z or B galactosidase gene. While the prophage inserted here, the LAC-Z operon may be inactivated, resulting in a non-functional galactosidase.
I want to ask you
if it go in the wrong side, it produces the illness, because in your intestines, your large and small intestines, you have a containment mechanism to contain E. coli, but in your esophagus, in your stomach, you don't have that protection. So the E. coli breaks through the barrier and infects the body as a rogue bacteria that causes illness.
Okay, so the E. coli chromosome, is that what you still talking about that?
No, we're talking about the LAC-Z gene in the E. coli as a processor.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to know. What was E. coli used as? And you answered my question. Okay, we can go ahead.
So the E. coli becomes a processor in the intestines to aid in the breakdown of the glucose. Right. So she go on to say, with the prophage inserted here, the LAC-Z operon may be inactivated, resulting in the non-functional galactosidase, which the excretions or removal of the prophage, this gene for lactose metabolism is vacated, leaving an empty seat, or so to speak, an empty throne. So
Mm,
what it's saying
mm,
is when you don't have the right types of sugar processing in the body, that you can't raise the energy enough to keep the genes active. This is the failing of the mitochondrial in the man that she's describing, versus women can sustain the resonance in mitochondrial. Men need help. Men need help by a counterpart. But we can only plug in through the heart chakra, right? So when the mother leaves, if the man haven't done sufficient self work to find his mate, and he's still out here on little boy stuff, his body gonna start to break down. His virility is gonna decrease, and he's gonna eventually, by the time he's roughly around between 45 and 55, he will become impotent. That's because he don't have a mitochondrial host. Therefore, he's not fit to reproduce male children, which means he's not fit to reproduce. If you're a man, you're supposed to be able to produce a man child. If you lose your mitochondrial rights to reproduction, you become impotent, so you can't reproduce. These become what we know in the beehive as the drones, the worker bees. This the man been married 30 years to the same woman, and they can't get along, but they won't leave each other, and they stay in the same house miserable together, and they never touch each other. They never have conjugal relations, none of that. He just there miserable, and she there miserable with him. It's not a love relationship. It's a contract agreement, and it's a difference. If it was a true love relationship, he would be smiling at 70 like he was at 20 when he met her. But if it's a contract relationship, it's gonna run its course. And then society's standards gonna dictate how they behave from that point forward. This is the patriarchal system, so we don't give the proper honors to the women to give us the proper control to produce under the mitochondrial resonance. This is what he's talking about right now. This is why the women is so valuable to the men who are aware that we become excessively aggressive in defending them. Right. So she goes on to say, thus we have possible correlation between Isis' name, depicting the empty throne or seat, and the potential for lactose metabolism, which is necessary for the birth of the Horus lineage. So this is the love exchange that must be required before the rightful heir can assume his position, and Big Mama not gonna let him in the house with no little strumpet. She ain't real. Take her back out there. Go try again, son. She can't come in. All of the mothers with this immortal gene put their son through the most difficult time when it comes to presenting mama with a woman. And the woman gotta love him so unconditionally that she understand why mama putting him through it. Because my son ain't just finna be married to no any old body. So to make sure that you can't put somebody who's undeserving in this thing, I'm gonna pick her. That's called the Queen Mother Seal. If the woman don't get the Queen Mother Seal, that means if the son, who is a rightful heir to his family's chiefdom, mother does not approve of the female he's in relation with, it don't matter what he do, that he can't inherit until he finds somebody that his mama can approve of, and she don't even have to physically be here. She don't even have to physically be here because as long as he got mitochondrial, she walking around with him like he on a leash. Because even when mama cross over, it's her love sustaining the mitochondria of the man. And if he the rightful heir, she will sustain it until he find what's called a representative. So somebody put in the chat, that was a good
and someone asked a question too in TikTok. So you go ahead and I don't know if we want to wait until after we finish the presentation and then we'll go into the Q&A.
Well, the only reason I'm reading this because it was directly related. It said this is from, I don't know who this is, iPhone 11 in the group. It said regard to mitochondrial DNA, it is passed on from mother to child, both daughters and sons. However, and this is where it becomes important to understand everything we're talking about. Only daughters can pass on the mitochondrial DNA because she is lengthening her bloodline. Sons can't do that. Sons contribute to other matriarchal bloodlines depending on the mother they impregnate. So fathers have same mitochondrial DNA as his mother, sisters, and all members of his matriarchal family. The children he sires only have mitochondrial DNA from their mother mitochondrial family. In other words, women carry the bloodlines from beginning to end. So that's why I had to read that, because it goes directly to what we're talking about. And we going through the process by which the physical sugars and the spiritual energies is converted